She came from the shadows between stars. Her ship was small and silent, made for only one thing: assassination. Her name was Ilara, trained from birth to kill without feeling, without mercy. Her target was a human, someone named Eli Grant. The mission details were simple: land on the human colony planet called Terra 5. Find Eli, end him, return with proof, no questions, no mistakes. But as Ilara's ship landed quietly in the forest outside the colony, something didn't feel right. She checked the data again. Eli was just an engineer, no military rank, no political power, nothing special. Why did the high command want him dead? She didn't care, she told herself. Caring was weakness. She was not weak. She moved like a ghost through the trees. Her body was covered in a black stealth suit. No one saw her, no one could. She reached the colony walls by nightfall. Humans lived inside, laughing, talking, living normal lives. They had no idea death was walking just beyond their gates. Ilara climbed to the top of a tall building. From there, she saw him. Eli was working late, fixing some kind of broken machine. He had dark hair, messy like he never cared to comb it. His hands were covered in grease. He talked to himself and to a small robot sitting nearby. The robot had a cracked eye and a dented arm. It beeped now and then. Eli laughed, like the robot was his friend. Strange, she thought. She prepared her weapon, a needle-thin dart laced with poison from her homeworld. One shot was enough, quick and silent. She locked onto his heart. Just 1 second more. Then something happened. Eli reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small photo. He looked at it and smiled. Ilara zoomed in with her lens. Her heart stopped. The photo showed a woman, not just any woman. That face so familiar. It was her own. No, not exactly. It was someone who looked just like her, older, gentler, her mother. But her mother was dead. The training center told her that long ago. She froze. Her hand trembled. This had never happened before. She had killed dozens, maybe hundreds. Never once did her hand shake. But now it did. She backed away from the edge. Something was wrong. She needed to think. She watched Eli again. Now he was humming an old tune. The same melody her mother used to hum when Ilara was a child. That melody was from her people's homeworld. A secret song. A lost song. Does he know that? She whispered. The wind did not answer. Her heart beat faster. She couldn't kill him, not yet. She had to know more. She had to find out who he really was, and how he had that photo and that song. Her mission was now something else. She would not report back. Not yet. She would stay hidden, follow him, learn the truth. If her commanders found out, they would send someone else. A cleaner, one who would not hesitate. But she didn't care. For the first time in her life, she felt something stronger than orders, stronger than fear. She felt curiosity. She felt doubt. And deep inside, she felt a strange connection, like a string tying her to Eli. A string that had been pulled across time and stars, waiting for this moment, this meeting, this mission. Ilara stepped back into the darkness, her weapon now cold in her hand. She watched Eli through the window, unaware, peaceful. He had no idea death had come for him, and no idea that death had changed her mind. The stars above shimmered like silent watchers. Ilara disappeared into the night. The mission had begun. But not in the way anyone had expected. Ilara stayed in the shadows, watching the man she was sent to kill. She should have left, should have returned to her ship. But something inside her had changed. That picture of the woman, the song he hummed, it wasn't a coincidence. It couldn't be. For the first time in her life, she didn't trust her own mission. She trusted her instincts instead. And her instincts told her that Eli Grant was not what he seemed. She followed him through the colony streets. He walked like a man with no enemies, smiling at the people, helping a child fix a broken hoverboard. No guards, no weapons, no fear. He didn't know someone had been sent to kill him. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. That made her even more curious. That night, he returned to a small building on the edge of the colony. It looked like an old repair shop. Parts were scattered everywhere: circuits, gears, wires, metal. Scraps. A tiny robot hovered at the door and beeped softly when it saw him. He called it Biddy and patted it like a pet. Solara watched from the roof, blending into the shadows. Eli pulled out the same machine he had been working on before. She didn't recognize it. It was round, with a glowing core, old tech, alien design, but somehow familiar. He placed his hand on it, and the core lit up bright blue. She blinked. That should not be possible. That kind of tech responded only to a specific genetic code. Not human, not even most aliens, only to a rare, lost line of blood, her people's blood. She felt a chill run down her spine. Why could Eli activate it? Who was he really? She moved silently to a vent and slipped inside the building. She crouched behind the shelves, hiding in the dark. Eli talked to the robot like it was his best friend. Biddy beeped and made a sad sound. Eli laughed. Yeah. I miss her too. Then he looked at the picture again, the same picture. The woman with soft eyes and silver markings. Solara touched her own face. She had those same markings, hidden now under her suit. But they were there. Eli spoke softly. I don't know your name, he said to the photo. But I know you saved me. Solara's breath caught. He didn't know her name. Then why did he keep her picture? He continued. They told me my mother died before I was born. But sometimes I think maybe she didn't. I think she was someone like you. He placed the photo beside the glowing device. I just want to know why. Solara's thoughts raced. Could it be true? Could he be part of her kind? But how? Her people had never mixed with humans. It was forbidden. Her training said humans were weak, selfish, dangerous. But Eli looked nothing like a threat. He looked like someone who had lost something, just like her. She stayed there, hidden in the dark, listening. Eli opened a secret drawer and pulled out a notebook. Inside were drawings, maps, strange symbols, some from her own language. That was impossible. No human should know that writing. Yet he had written it by hand. Solara's fingers tightened around her blade, not in anger, but confusion. What was going on here? Suddenly, Biddy turned its head toward the vent. Its red eye blinked twice. Eli looked up, alert. Hello? He called. Solara froze. She had made no sound, no movement. But somehow, they sensed her. She slipped out of the vent and vanished into the shadows. Her heart was beating fast. Not from fear, but from something deeper. That night, she didn't return to her ship. She found an abandoned building nearby and stayed there. She sat alone thinking. Her orders were clear: kill him, disappear. But now she had questions. Questions her commanders never wanted her to ask. Who was Eli Grant? Why did he have that device, that photo, that song? And if he was tied to her people, what did that make her? The moon of Terra 5 rose slowly above the colony. Solara stared at it, her weapon still in her hand. But she didn't want to use it. Not yet. Something was pulling her toward Eli, something stronger than duty, stronger than fear. It wasn't love, not yet. But it was the beginning of something powerful, and deep inside, she knew. This mission was no longer about death. It was about truth. The next morning, the colony buzzed with normal life. Children ran through the streets chasing drones. Vendors sold fruit from distant planets. Old machines clanked and hissed as workers repaired them under the bright sun. But Solara moved unseen. Between them, covered in a plain cloak stolen from an empty home, her assassin suit hidden underneath. No one noticed her glowing eyes under the hood. No one knew death walked beside them, still undecided on her purpose. She watched Eli again, this time closer. He walked through the central market, laughing with the old vendor who sold spare parts. He traded broken circuits for fresh bread and handed it to a hungry child. Solara blinked slowly. He was supposed to be her enemy, but he didn't act like one. Her kind had always said humans were selfish and cruel, but this human. He gave food to strangers. He spoke to robots like they had feelings. He fixed things others threw away. Later that day, He returned to his workshop. This time, Zalara didn't hide in the vents. She walked through the door, slow and quiet. Eli turned quickly, surprised. His hand reached for a tool, but then he stopped. He saw her face under the hood. She didn't point a weapon. She didn't speak. She just stood there, watching. He lowered the tool. "You lost?" he asked gently. She shook her head slowly. His eyes studied her. There was something in them, recognition, maybe, or confusion. "I haven't seen you around," he said. Her lips stayed closed, silent. She couldn't speak, not yet. Not until she understood what he was. Eli didn't push. He turned back to the glowing device on the table. "It's strange," he said. "This thing reacts to me, even though I don't know what it is." She stepped closer. Her fingers reached for the device but stopped an inch above. The energy inside pulsed, like it knew her, like it was waiting for both of them. Ele watched her carefully. "You've seen one of these before, haven't you?" She nodded. It was the first real answer she gave him. His face softened. "Are you like her?" he asked, pulling out the photo. She stared at it again. The woman in the picture was older, but the eyes were the same. Her eyes. Zalara reached into her cloak and pulled out a metal coin. She handed it to him. Eli turned the coin. In his hand, a strange symbol was carved on it. He frowned. "I've seen this before," he whispered. He opened his notebook, flipping through the pages fast. He stopped on a page with the same symbol drawn in black ink. "This," he said, "was on the ship my father found before he disappeared. My mother, she wore this symbol too." He looked up. "Who are you?" Zalara tried to speak. Her throat tightened. Her training had suppressed speech long ago, but something inside her pushed, the memory of a soft voice. Her mother's lullaby. A word formed slowly in her mind. She opened her mouth, and for the first time in years, a sound came out. "Zalara," she whispered. Eli froze. He stepped back. "That name," he said. "My father wrote that name in his journal," he said. Zalara was not a myth. "You're real." She nodded again, her voice still weak but alive. He looked at her, truly looked, not with fear, not with hate, but like someone finding a missing piece. They stood in silence, two strangers who were no longer strangers. Suddenly, pity beeped fast. Its red eye flashing, Zalara turned sharply, her assassin instincts waking again. Someone was watching, not Eli, not the robot, someone else from outside. She rushed to the window. A small flying probe hovered far away, just for a second, then vanished into the sky. Her heart dropped. They had found her. Her kind had seen her hesitation, her delay. They would send another. Someone who wouldn't freeze. Someone who would finish the mission. Eli noticed her change. "What is it?" he asked. She didn't answer. She couldn't. She looked at him one last time, then vanished through the back door without a sound. But Eli didn't chase her. He didn't need to. He knew she would return, because now both of them had questions. And neither could face the answers alone. The lights flickered once in Ethan's house. Just a blink, barely noticeable, but Vale saw it. She knew what it meant. Someone had entered the city with cloaking tech. Only high-level Zareth assassins could move like that. She turned to Ethan, her voice sharp. "He's here, Ethan." Didn't ask who. He just walked to a hidden wall panel and pulled out a small black case. Inside it was an old pulse gun, scratched but loaded. "I guess this day had to come," he said. Vale didn't argue. There was no time. She ran through the underground tunnels with Ethan behind her. She had memorized the city from the rooftops. But now she saw it from below, every crack, every pipe, every hidden corner. Above them, the Watcher moved fast, scanning every heat trace. Its armor shimmered like glass, almost invisible in the dark. Its eyes red like burning coal, heart colder than stone. Unlike Vale, this assassin didn't hesitate, didn't question. It was not made to feel, only to end. Vale stopped at a hidden wall and opened a steel door. Inside was a storage room, once a bunker from the war, now full of broken tech. Ethan stared at the devices, confused. "These are old decoys," she said. "But they might work." She activated 3 metal spheres and tossed them across the tunnel. Each one blinked, then disappeared from sight. Moments later, the tunnel shook. A blast echoed through the underground space. The decoys worked, but not for long. The Watcher had taken the bait, but it would correct quickly. "It won't fall for that again," Vale said. "I wasn't expecting it to," Ethan replied. "Just needed a few more seconds." He opened a side panel near the wall and pulled out a glowing box. Vale's eyes narrowed. "That's an energy core," she said. "Why do you have that?" "I found it on a wreck during the war," Ethan answered. "Never knew why it responded to me." Vale reached for it, but when her hand touched the box, it pulsed with light. Bright symbols appeared, Aerith letters, ones not spoken for centuries. Ethan stared at them, then spoke the words slowly. Vale stepped back, shocked. "No human should know that language," she whispered. "I don't know how I do," Ethan said. "But I've seen it in dreams since I was a kid." The moment he spoke the last symbol, the bunker lights turned blue. Something deep in the walls began to hum. A shield activated, thin, almost invisible, but strong enough to stop any energy weapon. For a moment, they were safe, but only for a moment. The Watcher found them. It slammed into the bunker's door like a hammer, bending the steel inward. Vale drew her blade, and Ethan raised his pulse gun. They stood side by side, both breathing hard, both ready. The door broke open on the third strike. The Watcher stepped inside, tall, deadly, glowing with quiet rage. It looked at Vale first, then at Ethan. Its voice came out like glass breaking. "You failed your mission," it said to her. Vale said nothing. "You protect the human," it continued. "He saved me," she said. "He is a threat." "He is more than you'll ever be," she replied. The Watcher raised its arm, and a laser blade extended with a soft hiss. Vale didn't wait. She charged forward, blade flashing. The room filled with sparks and smoke as metal clashed with metal. Ethan tried to shoot, but the Watcher moved too fast, blocking every shot with its arm. Vale was quick, but the Watcher was made for one thing: only killing. It knocked her back with one heavy strike, her blade sliding across the floor. She fell, coughing, blood in her mouth. The Watcher turned to Ethan. "This ends now," it said. Ethan raised the energy core, glowing bright in his hands. The Watcher paused, confused. "No human can activate that," it said. "But I did," Ethan replied, and crushed the core into the floor. A pulse of energy exploded outward, throwing the Watcher back through the door. The shield flared bright, then shattered. Vale grabbed Ethan and pulled him out of the bunker just before the whole room collapsed. They rolled into the dust, coughing and bruised, far above. The Empire saw the energy spike. A new signal was sent. More would come, and soon. But for now, Ethan and Vale had survived, together, hunted and wounded, and for the first time Vale didn't feel like an assassin. She felt like something else, something new. The night sky above the mountain was quiet, but Velarii knew silence never lasted long. They had escaped for now, but the Empire never let go of loose ends. She and Jace walked through the ruins of an old research station, hidden in the cliffs. The place was abandoned. Dust, broken glass, and rusted metal covered everything. But Velarii remembered this place. She had trained here once, long ago, before her mind was wiped clean. This was where she became a weapon, and now she had returned with the very thing she was supposed to destroy. Jace looked around, holding a flashlight. "Why here?" he asked. Velarii pointed to a metal door, half buried under a pile of rubble. "There's something inside," she said. "Something they didn't want me to remember." It took them nearly an hour to clear the path. Behind the door was a narrow tunnel, cold and dark. Jace followed her without hesitation. The walls were covered in faded symbols and strange carvings, alien writing, but not like the ones she had seen before. This was older, deeper, more personal. At the end of the tunnel was a room filled with strange machines. In the center, a glass table held a small glowing device. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Valari stepped forward and placed her hand on it. The light changed instantly, becoming brighter. The walls lit up with holograms, images of her as a child, her mother holding her, and then Jace, as a baby. Held by the same woman, Jace stepped back, eyes wide. "That's me," he whispered. Valari turned toward him, her voice shaking. "She saved you," she said. "And she raised me. She tried to protect both of us." The device showed more scientists, rebels, soldiers in secret labs. Valari's mother was one of them. She wasn't a normal alien. She was part of a group that wanted peace between humans and aliens. They had created something the Empire feared, a new life form, part human, part alien, a child that could survive. Both worlds, not a weapon, not an experiment, something natural. Valari's mother had hidden the truth from the Empire, but they had found out. They erased everything. Valari's memories, Jace's past, the whole lab. Jace looked at his hands, as if seeing them for the first time. "So I'm not fully human," Valari nodded. "You were made to unite two species," she said. "Not destroy them," Jace laughed, "but it was hollow. Well, that explains why I've always felt like I didn't belong anywhere." Suddenly, the device let out a sharp sound, a warning. Valari looked at the screen and saw red lights blinking. "They found us," she said. The Empire had traced the signal. Another ship was already entering the atmosphere. This time, it wasn't just an assassin. It was a purifier, a machine built to erase entire areas. If they didn't leave now, the mountain would be turned to ash. Valari grabbed the device and ran with Jace back through the tunnel. Outside, the sky had changed, glowing with strange clouds. The purifier's engine rumbled like thunder. They had minutes, maybe less. Jace stumbled. Falling to his knees, Valari pulled him up, but he looked at her with panic in his eyes. "I can feel something," he said, "in my blood." Valari paused. "What do you mean?" He raised his hand, and it glowed faintly. Not fire, not energy, something in between. The same light from the device, now inside him. "It's reacting to the purifier," he said, "like it's trying to fight back." Valari stepped close. Her hand on his chest, she could feel it too. His heartbeat was in sync with the device. With her, she looked into his eyes and saw no fear, only trust. They ran toward her ship hidden nearby. The purifier was already scanning the mountain. Flames rose behind them as trees burned and rocks cracked. They made it inside the ship just as the first pulse hit the earth. Valari lifted the ship into the sky, dodging the blasts. Jace placed the device into the ship's core. It locked in place and pulsed once. Suddenly, the purifier lost its signal, confused by the new energy. They had disabled it, just barely. But it wouldn't stop for long. Valari turned to Jace, breathing hard. "You were never just a target," she said. "You were the key." Jace nodded slowly. "Then we find out what I'm meant to unlock." The ship flew low over dead forests and burning skies. Valari pushed the controls hard, guiding them through the smoke below. The purifier roared like a dying god, angry that its mission had failed. Inside the ship, Jace sat with his eyes closed, his hands glowing faintly. The device was no longer just a tool, it had become part of him. He could feel power waking inside his body, power the Empire never wanted to exist. Valari checked the radar. A new signal had appeared. Smaller than a warship, but faster. Her eyes narrowed. She knew that shape. Only one person would come alone, flying that kind of ship. Old Commander, Kale. Kale had trained her since she was young. He had taught her to strike, to vanish, to obey. He had called her his finest weapon, and now he was coming to end her himself. Valari turned the ship toward the clouds. Jace opened his eyes, sensing her tension. "Someone's following us," he said. She didn't answer. He didn't need to ask who. The two ships met above the mountains. Valari slowed to hover in the sky. Kale's ship stopped in front of them, cold and silent. A transmission appeared on the screen. His face was older, sharper, and just as cruel. "You disappoint me," he said without emotion. "You were built for perfection. And now you protect a failed project. Valari said nothing. You should have died when you disobeyed, Kale continued. You want to be human? Then you'll die like one. He ended the call and opened fire. The ship shook violently as the first blast hit their shield. Valari moved fast, dodging into a storm cloud. But Kale followed without pause, his guns slicing through the sky. Jace held the edge of his seat, his heart pounding. I can stop him, he said. Valari turned sharply. Not yet. She flew them toward the canyon, where old machines from the war still lay broken. She landed fast, and they jumped out, running through rusted wrecks. Kale's ship landed behind them. He stepped out alone. Wearing black armor with red lights across the chest, Valari met him in the center of the field. Blade in hand. You still follow the wrong code, Kale said. There is no code. She replied, Not anymore. They moved like lightning, steel clashing against steel. Each strike sent sparks into the air. Jace stood behind a fallen ship, watching, unable to help. The power in his chest was growing, rising like fire. Kale knocked Valari back with a hard kick. She rolled, blood on her lip. He pointed his weapon at her heart. You had potential, he said. Then you made me a tool, she whispered. He fired. But the shot never hit her. A wave of light burst from behind Kale, throwing him into the wreckage. Jace stood with his hand raised, the device in his chest glowing like a star. Valari blinked, stunned. You ... You controlled the energy, she said. I didn't mean to. Jace said. I just wanted to stop him. Kale stood again, shaking. Part of his armor burned. He looked at Jace with hate in his eyes. You were never meant to live, Jace. Step forward slowly. Maybe not. But I'm done running. He touched the device with one hand. And the sky above them changed. The clouds parted, and a massive signal pulse shot into space. It was a message, not a cry for help, but a warning. The Empire would now know the device had awakened. They would come with everything. Valari ran to Jace, pulling him back behind cover. You just told the whole galaxy where we are, she said. I know, Jace said quietly. But maybe it's time they saw what they tried to destroy. Far above, ships turned in space. A fleet of Empire vessels began moving toward the planet. The final storm was coming, and they only had one chance to stop it. The stars above turned red. Dozens of ships appeared in the sky like dark wings opening over the world. The Empire had arrived, not with one assassin, not with a purifier, but with an army. Valari stood at the edge of the ruined canyon, staring up at the sky. She had known this day would come, but she didn't expect it to feel like this. Not fear, not panic, but something sharp and deep determination. Behind her, Jace was quiet. The glowing device in his chest now pulsed faster. Each beat sent waves of energy into the earth. The machines left from the old wars began to flicker, lights returning to dead circuits. Something inside the ground was waking up. Valari walked to him, placing her hand gently on his shoulder. If we run now, they'll destroy the whole planet. She said, I know, Jace whispered, but I'm not afraid. She looked into his eyes and saw the truth. He had changed, not into something alien, but into something more human than anyone she had ever met. They stood together in silence as the first ship descended. Empire soldiers in black armor dropped down, weapons ready. They expected weakness, confusion, surrender. But Valari stepped forward without hesitation, blade in hand. Jace followed her. No armor, no gun, only the light from within him. The ground around them began to glow. The old war machines rose from their resting places, their systems connected to Jace's pulse. The broken metal was no longer broken. It had become a shield. A wall, a voice. The soldiers opened fire. Valari moved like wind, fast and sharp. Blocking every blast, Jace raised his hand, and a wave of energy knocked the front line to the ground. He wasn't just protecting himself. He was protecting her, and she was doing the same. The air shook as more troops arrived, but the machines now moved on their own. fighting beside them, guarding the last hope. It was not just a battle, it was a message to the stars. Human and alien could fight side by side. Not to destroy, but to defend. Kale's voice returned on the comms. "Louder now, you can't win," he said. "You're just one mistake. One memory that should have been erased." Valari answered without touching the mic. "I remember enough," she said, "to know what you fear." Jay stepped forward. Holding the device above his head, light poured from it like fire. The sky opened, revealing not destruction, but something unexpected. The signal had reached others. Ships began to appear from the edge of space. Not Empire ships, but rebels, lost colonies, broken outposts once silenced by fear. They had heard the call, and they came. The Empire's fleet paused, for the first time in years. It hesitated. Kale shouted orders, but his voice no longer had power. Jace's light spread across the battlefield, not killing, not burning, but freeing. Valari looked around and saw the soldiers stop fighting. One by one, they dropped their weapons. Some removed their helmets. Some looked at Jace with wide eyes. They felt it too, the pulse, the truth, the connection. This was not a weapon. This was a beginning. The sky grew quiet again. Ships returned to the stars without firing. The purifier turned away. Systems shutting down. The earth breathed. So did Valari. So did Jace. They stood among broken machines and blinking lights, but they were not broken. They were whole. Valari turned to him, her voice soft but steady. "What now?" Jace smiled. "We build something better." She didn't reply. She just took his hand. Together, they walked forward, not as assassin and target, not as human and alien, but as something new the universe had never seen, something that could not be erased.